So just what was it like to sit, well, what was it like to sit and watch that? TV did catch a grimace of yours at one point, just kind of what's going through your mind as you're watching the season and you not being able to do anything about it?
It's tough, man. Like that's a first for me. Yeah, obviously every season ends in some way, shape, or form. You know, we've had 4 years where it's ended great for us, and you know the times you leave it all out on the floor and give whatever you have to try to either make the playoffs or keep your season alive or whatever it is, and sit on the sidelines. It's weird. You wish you were out there to be able to do something about it. But it just wasn't in the cards this year. And we gave a great effort since February to give ourselves a chance. And we've been up here talking about it since then, and every game since. Just all we wanted was a chance, and to finish the year like we did, and to sneak in the playoffs, win that first round. Like, there's a lot to be proud of for sure, considering where we were, but definitely disappointed and frankly just sad that I wasn't out there able to play. So we have hopefully a bright future in terms of coming back next year and trying again.
Steph, in the interest of off-season torture and what could have been, how close would you say you were to playing?
Everything was kind of aligned for Game 6. I had some testing to do, and who knows how that would have went because I hadn't gone live since Game 1. And first time dealing with this injury, I was pretty optimistic, but there were a couple more check points to get through. But it's a great what if.
What's your summer look like? As far as how restful do you want it to be?
We got 4 months. I don't have any Olympics, and it's gonna be just about rebuilding. Getting rest, like you said, getting away from the game for a little bit, and then rebuilding everything for another great run. So I'm gonna take full advantage of the offseason, knowing I've been playing a lot of basketball for the last year, and a lot left in the tank to prepare for. So I'm excited about it.
Do you view this as like a 2-year window? I mean, you have 2 years left on your contract. Is that how you're viewing it?
Yes, but also I'm just looking forward to next year. Like, as this league reminds you, you see teams that are still alive, you see the injuries that have happened, unfortunately, and nothing is, guaranteed in terms of you being competitive or being a contender. So, yeah, our contracts are all me, Draymond, Steve, Jimmy, all 2 years, and we want this ride to last as long as possible, but it's just about what does this team need for next year, answering those questions over the summer, everybody preparing themselves individually to get through another 82-game season, hopefully with a little bit more of a little comfort room down the stretch where we don't have to have a 2-month gauntlet just to make the playoffs. So that's all we're really focused on right now. And I'm excited about it because there's clarity, although there are a lot of decisions that need to be made over the summer.
Steph, you've said a couple times during this postseason, if you told me in January, we'd take it, of where you are. Does knowing where you were when it felt kind of hopeless and a little bit lost, does that ease the feeling of this kind of gut punch?
Not right now, no. But it'll give us optimism coming into next year. September rolls around, and there's 29 teams that ended their year disappointed in some way, shape, or form, who are excited about making the charge like we want to be as confident as possible coming into next year. And I think that window where we're 20, whatever our record was down the stretch, like that meant something. That was real. When I got hurt in Game 1, obviously that changed a lot, but we have a lot to be, again, proud of and a lot to build off of for next year. So we got to maintain that optimism.
Steph, the way you guys were playing coming out of that game 7, and then in that game 1, you were playing well. Everybody was playing well. Even when you went down, the rest of the team still won that game. Do you wonder how far you guys could have gone had you been able to stay healthy? I think Steve said that he had no doubt in his mind that you guys had a shot. You guys could have gone to all the way.
You obviously have that mindset, and it's a story you're going to tell yourself when you lay your head out on the pillow every night for the next couple of weeks, until whoever wins the championship, because that's the belief that we did have. But again, this league is hard to win. You have to have things go your way. I know we mentioned, like, we've been on the other side of it where, guys have missed for whatever reason, teams that we played against, and that's part of winning at the highest level. You have to have health, you have to have good fortune, you have to have ball bounce your way down the stretch in certain games. Like, it's why people watch every night, because it's unpredictable, and it's why there's such highs and lows emotionally, because of how fragile winning really is. So, yeah, disappointed for sure. Will imagine and believe that we could have won everything, had we been healthy, but you move on.
Steph, you guys' ages are obviously a talking point, but what makes you most confident in you, Draymond, and Jimmy being the right core for this team moving forward?
I think just you look at the sample size of the last 2 months, and even the Houston series. When we had our mind focused on a goal, like we had enough to accomplish it and get to a point where we were playing pretty high level basketball. Does that mean we can win a championship? We hope so. And that's really all you want is a fighter's chance. Like, you look at the league right now. I know there's a lot of youth taking over, but you were one of the last 8 teams, that realistically had a shot. And if you can run that back, make some tweaks that can help our overall, roster. Obviously, you had to get through an 82-game season, like I said, and we want to be, in a position where you're not chasing. But I feel like we had enough that we showed, we could be that team. That's all you really want.
You mentioned the tweaks. What do you think this roster needs?
I don't know. I'll think about that over the summer. It's still fresh. I know that's the best question you get asked right after the season. And it's also, tricky because I love every guy in that locker room. I love the commitment to our mission. I love the vibe, the energy, the chemistry, the camaraderie. I know there's a lot of turnover and change every year in every locker room, and you hate to see guys go and whatnot. But every team has to get better, and they have to address that. And I think from Joe to Mike, Steve, our veteran leaders, like we'll all have those conversations and try to answer those questions the best that we all can, and hopefully make moves that make our team better. That's what the name of the game is.
Kuminga is the player whose future is probably most uncertain with restricted free agency. What's your big picture view of his 4 years here and his potential future or non-future here?
I think he's grown a lot. He's been dealt a very tough hand, to be honest. Like, came in when we started 18 and whatever, 2 that year, and he had some moments, but getting in the playoffs didn't really have an opportunity, and we win a championship, and then you run it back, and he's handled his business in terms of just getting better and just trying to focus on what it means to become a better version of himself in the way that he plays, and the fact that he's had playing time in Hatton and been in rotation in Hatton, like that's tough for any player, let alone a young guy who's trying to figure it out in the league. So I commend him on just staying ready, seeing what he did the last couple of games. That's not easy to do, to not know if your button's going to be called or your number's going to be called, and then go out there and perform. So I'm proud of the way that he's handled it. I hope the future is bright for him, whether it's here, whether it's wherever. And knowing that he's a guy in this league that can continue to climb that ladder on his own pace. So I think he's gone through a lot that most people haven't in 4 years, and seen a lot. So hopefully he's better because of it.
It's the version of the off-season question. I'll try to ask it a little more general. But like last off-season, a ton of stuff happened, and you guys went big game hunting. We know Paul George, Markkanen, you lose Clay. How different do you feel going into this? I mean, do you feel like you could be big game hunting, or is it not as necessary given what you did, getting Jimmy going 24 and 8, well, all those things? Is it a marked difference from, say, last offseason going into this one?
Yeah, like I said, there's a little bit more clarity on what we have. Jimmy being, a big part of that. There are obviously guys in this league, if for whatever reason come available, every team's going to call. It's just how it works, whether stuff happens or not. More times than not, it doesn't. But we have clarity on what we have in terms of our core and the experience. But we do know we need to probably get a little bit bigger across the board. We struggle shooting at times. Like what those can be addressed, but how and how you get to that, I think, is what Mike's going to have to figure out, and we got confidence that he can do it. So I like the vibe that we have a little bit more clarity and a little bit more understanding of what me, Jimmy, Draymond have been able to do this last 3 months, and try to make it try to make a few tweaks and make it as good as possible.
Steph, you're 37. Did you know that?
I've heard it a couple times this year.
When you're outside of work, that's a young man's age. When you're at work, you get those reminders that you are one of the oldest guys in the league. How are you feeling about that difference outside of work, inside of work, and your age being mentioned in pretty much every story about you from here on out?
One, it's an ultimate compliment because it's part of the level that you're playing at, and oh, he's still doing it at this age. Two, it's a reminder of your basketball mortality and appreciating every moment that you have. That's why the way this ended was as emotional as it was. Not being able to play in those big games because you don't know how many more opportunities you will have. But I think the difference on and off the court, seeing my family and seeing my kids grow and the opportunities off the court, it allows me to just have fun and appreciate this chapter of my life as much as possible, knowing that hopefully the next chapter is as great, but this one, I'm trying to get every, bit of fun and experience and, squeeze as much juice out of this as possible. So it's weird to, even you get it from your teammates even. I remember watching you in such and such game when I was 7. It's none of that stuff it is weird. It's hard to kind of digest it, but it just allows me to make sure I'm having as much fun as possible doing what I love to do and how long I've been able to do it. And this last chapter of my career, getting everything I can out of it.
Two more, because then we have Draymond ready to come in.
Stephen, looking back at these last 3 months and since Jimmy got here, was it above and beyond maybe what you expected in terms of how seamless it was, or about what you thought could be when he joined you guys? It seemed like everything just clicked immediately, and that says something about the whole group, doesn't it?
Absolutely. There's a lot of chatter of whether that was the right trade or not when it happened, and I don't know, when we were in Utah and the trade went down, we were emotional in that period because we saw 3 of our guys who we love, Wiggs, being a part of our championship run, having to go. But from the first game in Chicago to last night, it was a seamless fit. Me and him complimented each other so well. He gave us so much belief that we could, beat anybody any given night and make a legitimate run at climbing up the standings. And even having some playoff, experience to look forward to. So I think it was a success. And now you have to build off of that with a full season, hopefully, in front of us. So I'm excited about it.
Steph, to feed off some of those off-season plans, another basketball team is here tomorrow night, the Valkyries. Do you have a plan to be an ambassador, to be there, to kind of be involved with that team this offseason?
I'm going to be a fan. Yeah, I'm going to be here as many games as possible. It's great for the entire Bay, the inaugural season. I know the atmosphere is pretty cool when they had the preseason game here. So I'm excited to watch them play and wish them nothing but success. And, it's going to be really cool to be here opening night when they get to kind of plant their flag with what Valkyrie basketball means around here. So I'm pretty excited to watch it.
Hey, Jimmy, in Miami, you were the guy, and then there's a mid-season change for you. You come to the Warriors. You're eager to say you can be the Robin to Steph's Batman. Maybe you're not the number one here. What did that require of you? Did you think that there was any selflessness there? Because you've always been Jimmy. You got to be who you were here. But what did you think about this kind of different environment?
I feel like everybody's so unselfish here that anybody could be playing any role on any given night. But I'm completely content with who I am as a basketball player, the way that I play the game, and to come here and know that I'm second to Steph. I think that's a really good thing, actually, when you talk about one of the greatest players to ever play this game. And I get to come here and be his sidekick for a couple more years, hopefully. It's just refreshing. And then you got some really high-level young talent that want to do well, that want to be great. And then the energy's at an all-time high. I don't think there's too much more that you can ask for.
Kind of in the same vein of that question, when it came out that you were about to be traded, or there was talk about wanting to be traded, and the Warriors were one of the teams that was mentioned, reports came out that you didn't know necessarily if this was the team that you wanted to be on or if it was somewhere else. Now that you're inside here of the franchise and you've played with these guys for a amount of time that you played with them, whether that's second to Steph, his right-hand man, and then being able to be in the locker room with the guys that you've been in, looking back, you said you had your joy back playing basketball, but if you can kind of dive deeper into what it was or how you feel about being the fact that you landed here with the Warriors.
The way that reports go, it's all one person said this, one person said that, because I don't ever really talk to the media, so you'll never know what's really going on. But to end up here is great. To know that, Dre, Steph called me and talked to me about what was to happen in the future. And then just being inside of this organization, see how great it is, how everybody wants everybody to be great. They're looking out for your best interests, like health-wise, basketball-wise, to where you can play basketball at a high level. And then we just got some really good dudes. I truly enjoyed learning from each and every one of these individuals about who they are. I know who they are as basketball players because I've been in this league for a while. But what makes them tick, what makes them go, about their family, about how they grew up. I think that's the best part of anything in life is getting to know people. Wow, there's my phone. Tell you what, right? So that's the good thing. And I landed here and we hit the ground running, and I'm comfortable. I'm happy. I got my joy back, as Buddy would say. And I'm very fortunate to be here.
Jimmy, when you got, I'm sorry, obviously things went very well when you got here. Things looked like it was seamless, but how much was just on the fly? How much was almost just kind of improvised, and what more is possible when you have full off season, full training camp?
A lot of it was, I come into the squad, we're on the road, we still on the road, then we had All-Star break, come back on the road. So it was like everything was moving so fast. I didn't have a home to be in yet. I didn't have anything. I didn't have my cars. I didn't have my wardrobe. I don't have a problem wearing aloe every day, but I was in aloe every single day. And then, you get more and more comfortable, the good way of comfortable, not complacent comfortable. But now you got a whole off season. I get to be around my guys in the off season. We're going to get to vacay together. We're going to get to get our kids together. We're going to get to train together, build even more chemistry, and then take this thing into training camp and into this next year, this next season, and do what we set out to do.
Are there plans for you to work out with Steph and Draymond?
Yeah, of course. Not just them, but like everybody else. I don't know, I heard the end of Draymond's thingy up here. I don't know where everybody's contract situations are, but I would like to think that they're still my friends, so I still get to go hang out with them and work out with them and go see them in the offseason. I look forward to it because not only does it help me know them as a basketball player, like I said, I get to see where they're from, I get to see what they like to do, and I get to live a day in their life.
Jimmy, this is such a unique system and all that. As you go into the offseason, what do you think you'll work on, and how will your offseason change at all? If
it hasn't changed for years on years. A little bit of everything. But more than anything, it's my main goal in the offseason is getting to know my people. I mean it. If I can show them that I am there for you, outside of basketball, and I'm actually getting to learn you and know you, it makes a huge difference on the court because it's not just about basketball. You need to know, be able to tell when they're not right, when something's going on in their mind. So that's my main goal, go and spend time with my people, my teammates as often as I can. And then basketball, it becomes quite easy, actually.
Jimmy, how compromised were you health-wise in the last couple of games?
Fine. Everybody's nicked up at that point in time of the year. I'll be okay. I guess I got a lot of time to recover now, though.
And also, now that you've been with this team for a while, what do you think this roster needs going forward to improve?
I don't really get into the whole roster talk. I think whoever we have, we go out there and compete. I believe we always have enough. For sure, if we got Steph out there on the floor with us. I don't get into the roster. I don't know. I think everybody here, we are just very, very fortunate to be able to hoop for this organization with this group of guys. And I don't think you take for granted that it could be the same next year. It could not be the same next year. Who knows? But in the right now, you just go out there and compete. And whoever we have is who we're going to have.
Jimmy, Steph has talked about how your contract, his contract, Draymond's contract, Steve Kerr, all lined together for the next 2 years. Do you see this as a 2-year window for a championship?
Yeah. And then if we win some, it could be longer than that because I still think that we have a lot of great basketball left ahead of us. I don't think this age thing is anything. The way that everybody's taking care of their bodies, doing right, I think the potential is there. So with this full season we got coming up ahead, I think we'll be able to find out.
Draymond, I know last night you said that you still feel very good about the situation. What's your mindset about the team going into the offseason? Do you think some pretty big changes need to be made, or just think a little here and there, and that should be enough to get you back close to where you want to be?
I think the biggest change that needed to be made was we needed someone like Jimmy Butler, and we made that change. So I think the hardest part is done. It's harder to get guys like that through trade, through free agency. It just doesn't come up often. And so I think that part is done and puts us in a much better situation going into this offseason than last year where we were kind of looking for that, And so that being said, we have to get better. And we understand that. We lost in the second round, regardless of what the circumstances were. We lost in the second round, so we need to improve. We've always spoke about there being 82 game players and 16 game players. At some point, for us, we have to take a look at both because, ideally, you don't want to be from February 8th on scrapping and clawing for every win that you could possibly get that takes a toll after a while. For us, we've kind of been in playoff mode for the last 3 months. It's not a highly effective way to win a championship. And so I think we all understand that from top to bottom in the organization, and we need to put ourselves in a better position to have a great year, not finish great, if that makes sense. I hope that don't come off as like, yeah, we want to finish great, obviously, but the year needs to be indicative of that to allow the finish to be what we want it to be. Having to play 3 months of playoff, I think ultimately took its toll, over the course of the last few weeks. So I think that'll be the focus. Feel very confident, very strongly that we can still make another run or two at the ultimate prize, but we definitely have to get better.
How do you view the future of the center spot for this organization, and how much it's going to be, you when it comes down to it, or how much you might need just more reinforcements at this stage of your career?
I am the center of the future. No, I'm just playing.
I mean, you might be right.
No, honestly, listen, Loon has been here for 10 years, and he's been incredible. Was a key cog in us winning the championship in 2022. Trace has grown a lot, over the past 2 years of being was he the 52nd pick or something like that? 57? And, with the strides that he's made, it's been incredible. What we do at the position, I'm not sure. That's not really my role, but what I will say is I think you always have to be looking to get better. If you're not looking to get better in this league, I missed. If you're not looking to get better in this league, you're either getting better or you're getting worse because everyone else is doing the same. And so I don't know what happens. I think, Mike will take a deep look at all of those things. I know whenever I'm called up on to play the 5, I can. I think there was a big there was kind of a big worry with me playing the 5 so much this year, and I think I answered those questions. I've been strictly a 5 since Jimmy's been here until 2 nights ago. So, and I think my body held up great. I feel great. I think I'm coming out of this season as healthy as I've come out of any season, and that was with logging 35 to 37 minutes a night for 3 straight months at the 5 position, fighting for a playoff spot. And so I know I'm cut out for it and can handle it, but like I said, we have to get better, and improving requires you to look at everything. So I'll always be an option for our organization, and if they want to go that direction, I'm always going to be right. I wouldn't turn that down, what if it's like, oh man, you can start at the 5 or you don't start? Well, I'm gonna start at the 5. It is what it is. I think when I look around the league, yeah, guys are big. Joker, Sengun, Zubac, Joel, healthy Joel. But I don't back down from anyone, and if that's what our organization decide to do, I'll be right here ready to go. And if they decide that want to go one of the 5s on the roster, great. If they want to decide they want to go after someone, great. Me, I'm always in favor of what's best for this organization. I can always see past myself when it comes to this organization.
Draymond, we know the guarantee that you made at the All-Star break, but then you also said later to Kareth and Monty that you like your chances even more next season. How excited are you to have a full training camp with Jimmy, a full season with Jimmy, and how much did you learn in these 3 months about the core of you, Steph, and Jimmy?
I learned that we're capable. We all believe we're capable. Then to get out there and put the product on the floor and actually prove that you are, even more so to ourselves than anyone, we're capable. Training camp will be great for us. It's funny because I was just talking to Stack on the bench last night, and we was talking about some things. I'm like, man, like, if this group had training camp together, like, some of the mistakes that we make, we just wouldn't make, especially on the defensive end. Like, we just wouldn't make those mistakes if we had a training camp. And so I think, like I said, I think coming back next year we'll be even in a better position than we were this year. Number one, because you can manage the season better, which helps when you're trying to compete for a championship, especially at the ages we're at. It helps a lot. And so the utmost confidence in it, that we can come back and do what we set out to do. It'll take some possible retooling of the roster. I don't think any roster has stayed the same from year to year in the NBA, and definitely not one that lost in the second round. So I think we got the best organization in the league. Mike Dunleavy has been nothing short of amazing since taking over for arguably one of the greatest GMs in NBA history. Come in and take over an impossible job. Like, how do you follow that success up? And yet, I can tell you, just as someone who's been in the weeds, he's been amazing. Being a GM is oftentimes judged by the roster moves you make, the team you build. The part that people don't show is all the sidebar conversations and having a pulse of the team. Like, Mike has an incredible pulse of his team. He's always in the weeds on the small stuff a lot, like Bob was. No conversation is left unturned. He's not afraid to have the tough conversations. And that's special because a lot of people aren't like that. And so I have the utmost confidence that Mike will do the right things, and the job that he's been doing as just keeping this thing together and moving it forward and helping it grow collectively as an organization, but then also the work that he does with individuals and the conversations that he's walking around having with individuals. He understands that he gets it, which puts us in a really good spot.
Draymond, there could be some stars available this summer. When you and Jimmy and Steph talk about what you guys need, do you think it's another star? Do you think it's improving, on the margins, whether it be more size, more shooting, knowing the landscape today? Because I remember when last summer you guys went after stars, you said, hey, this might not work at all. We got to be careful. How do you feel about now knowing with you three guys what you might need?
With us three, I think, like I said, I think we've shown that we'll have a good chance. As far as stars go, you ultimately hope that what you have is enough, because it's hard to get stars. Like, even if they're available, it's just hard to pull off and not give up something you want to give up, or auctioning off the future of your organization. Like, it's tough to get. You see that happen around the league often, and more often than not, it usually don't work. Like, I think it's not worked way more often than it actually has worked. And so you have to be conscious of that. You can't just go after name because the name is, like, we've won enough to know what winning looks like and what the pieces, how the pieces of the puzzle fit together. And so we'll operate in that manner. For as much as I could say being a player and not like really making the decisions. But I've been here for 13 years. I know how this organization works. Joe won't make a desperate move, or Joe won't allow a desperate move to make, and Mike's not a desperate guy. It's just not something we do. And so I don't foresee us auctioning off everything for someone. I could be wrong, but it's just not how this organization is operated. in saying that, I think anytime the opportunity presents itself, you always have to lift up the curtain and take a peek if you want to be an organization that competes at the highest level, which we are. So, yeah, you're always going to take a peek and see what's out there and listen. But does that ultimately happen? I don't know. But what I will say is Mike's done such an incredible job that if we did want to do that, we're set up for it. And so ultimately all you want to do is give yourself a chance, whether that's a chance in free agency, whether that's a chance in trade talks, whether that's a chance at a championship. Ultimately in this league, you just want to give yourself a chance. And I think with the great work that our front office has done, our ownership group has done, we're in a position where we could do that if that's something that they saw fit and wanted to do. And that's ultimately what you want, you know. In life, we want freedom. You want financial freedom. You want cap freedom, you know. As far as basketball go, you want cap freedom. In life, we want financial freedom. We want, you know. So our organization has done a great job of that. And we're in a position where if that's what they see fit and want to do, we can do that. And I think that's the best position to be in.
Draymond, you said that you were going to follow Steph and Jimmy to a championship. Looking at the postseason landscape right now, if Steph had been healthy, do you still think that you guys could have done that?
I wholeheartedly believe Steph was healthy, we could have done that. But I once won a championship where Kyrie Irving got hurt in the NBA Finals and Kevin Love got hurt in the NBA Finals. Do I think we still would have won if they didn't get hurt? I do believe so, but we'll never know. That's just the nature of the sport that we play. Injuries are a part of it, and they're unfortunate. So you can't take the good and be like, oh, man, we won a championship, and it don't matter that somebody was hurt. On the flip side, can't sit here and be like, we would have won had Steph not got hurt. No, you've been on the other side of that. So respect it when it don't go your way. You know, one thing I hate is a front runner. You know, oh man, we won our championships because we were that good, which we were. But Kyrie Irving got hurt. Kevin Love got hurt. Robert Williams got hurt. That is the nature of the sport we play. So unfortunately this time, luck wasn't on our side and Steph Curry got hurt. But we've dealt with it before. Kevin Durant got hurt. Klay Thompson got hurt. You know, so you start to take a peek. It happens every year somewhere. It may not be here. It may be another team. But when it ain't on your side, you can't be the guys that go up there and be like, man, we would have won if. Yeah, in a perfect world, probably. But the world ain't perfect. It's far from it. And so take the good with the bad. The Minnesota Timberwolves ended our season. They beat us regardless of who we had on the floor. We were a playoff team, and they moving on. That's just, it sucks for Steph that he wasn't able to be out there because you work so hard for those moments to be in that situation. And so I feel for him. But under no circumstance will I be like, oh, man, they lucky Steph. No, they won. And move on. We try to get better this offseason and try to do it again next year.
What is your kind of big picture view on Kuminga and his 4 years here and, you know, the talent that he is, the fit that has kind of, you know, been a roller coaster, just and his future and if it's here?
His future is bright. Whether it's here or whether it's somewhere else, his future is bright. That type of talent usually figures it out. And I think he will figure it out. Like I said, I don't know where that will be. But wherever it'll be, I think he'll be just fine. When I look at his 4 years, I think he's grown a ton. The player he was coming in here 4 years ago and the player that he is today, he made a couple plays in that game defensively yesterday. And I pulled him to the side. I said, now you're playing. Because you're making reads defensively. I think maybe Nickeil Alexander-Walker had screen for Ant-Man and got the switch on. Maybe Buddy. Could have been BP. I don't really remember who it was that switched on to him. J.K. starts diving down the paint with his man. Most guys in that situation go run with the man, leave that guy on the island, and then hope that the next guy go help. And he stopped. He ran with him. He saw that he wasn't looking, stopped at the free throw line, and went back and double-teamed that. That's a play he wouldn't have made 3 months ago. And to most people, that's a very small play, but that is how you stop problems on the defensive end before they happen. So to see him taking those steps, I think that's more special than the offensive steps he's taking, because you're really starting to read the game now. And so I think same thing I've always believed. His future is extremely bright. In this business that we're in, there's no way to be certain that that'll be here or somewhere else. But the beautiful thing about it is when you're a talent like that, people usually find a way to make it work. So whether that's the Warriors finding a way to make it work or another team finding a way to make it work, he has my utmost love and support because I want to see him do well. And in an ideal world, that'll be here. But this game we play and this sport we're in and this business we're in, it ain't always ideal. So see what happens. But definitely wishing him the best of luck with his free agency because we've all been there before. It's a very stressful place. But it's the nature of the business. So I think he's taking tremendous strides, and I think he'll continue to grow.